So you have your own projects. Do you still work with company, or you don't work with company anymore?
Sure. So the marketing and advertising business is over for me personally.
Yes.
When I took over the real estate company, I stopped looking for clients in my own business. And then when I purchased the property in Tennessee,
correct,
that was my first entrepreneurial development.
Deal, yeah.
My first development deal.
Yes.
Actually, not my first one, but
but you didn't even know much about construction. You know marketing.
Correct.
But the development side, you don't know.
So that's a funny story. So I met with probably the largest developer I've ever met.
Yes.
Prior to purchasing the property in Tennessee, 3,000 acres and a golf course. And he didn't want to take the meeting. He's technically retired. He was a global developer. He built the first skyscraper in China. He's built hotels all over the world. He's built multiple Disney theme parks.
Wow.
He's the biggest I've ever met. And I've been fortunate to have a nice relationship with him. And I asked him to meet with me to talk about this project. And his response was, I don't have any money. I'm not taking it over. I'm not going to run it for you. And I was like, no, I don't need anything from you. I just want to talk. I want to pick your brain. I want to learn from you. I have my own project, my own money. I just wanted to ask you a few questions.
Yes.
And he said, you don't need anything from me than lunch? I said, no. He goes, I'll take the meeting. So I told him what I wanted to do and what I was working on, and he said, well, you need to do these three things, this, and this.
Yes.
I said, okay. I came back a week later. He was surprised.
And you did those three things?
I did those three things.
Right.
I did all those things. Then he says, now you have to do this, and this.
Yes.
And I went, okay. I came back a week later and did them. Again, he was surprised.
Yes.
And then he looks at me and says, do you understand that you have a deal? And I went, yeah, why do you think I'm so nervous? Right? I did everything. First of all, he didn't expect me to do it.
He thinks you go away in a week, right?
And then he took me aside and he says, congratulations, you've just become a developer. I said, what do you mean? He said, the development business is pretty simple. No one will teach it to you. You can't go to school to learn it. The only way you become a developer is by being taken advantage of and screwed by so many people and having the perseverance to figure it out and do it for yourself. He says, if you open the dictionary today and look under developer, you'll see your picture. Congratulations.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, wow. You understand, you only can do this by experience. And that's what I've never been afraid. I've always done things way above my pay grade, but I'm a learner. And since I grew up poor, failure is not an option.
Yes.
Whatever capital I had, it's everything I had.
You gotta put it on the line. You gotta make it work.
If it's on the line, it's going to work.
Yes.
And I found that most people give up too soon. Businesses fail because they're either undercapitalized, they grow too quickly and can't afford the growth, or they just don't want to finish. It gets hard, right?
We were talking about it.
That's
You got to finish things.
You got to finish. I mean, tunnel under it, climb over it, run around it. It doesn't matter. Whatever obstacles are put in your way, we have to deal with it. And people who finish are people who succeed.
Right.
And that was a life lesson. And that was a life lesson. And I've been fortunate enough to sit at the feet of some very wise people. And well, my personality, I wind up in places I probably don't always belong.
Yes.
And growing up in New York, my father taught me to always walk with my head up high, my eyes open, and look at all the people around me.
Yes.
He said to make sure you understand your surroundings so you're not surprised.
Yes.
He did that from a security standpoint.
Yes, so you don't get beat up.
Right, exactly. But what that taught me is how to connect to people and how to notice people.
Right.
And in my business today, it's pretty funny. I will tell my staff on a business trip, I met so-and-so, or I just sat next to so-and-so, and these are A-list celebrities and athletes. And they said, we don't believe you. Like, nobody meets that many people. I said, I'll prove it. I started taking pictures right? Everywhere I go now, I meet somebody,
yes.
I start taking pictures of them or selfies to
Yes.
prove.
Yes.
And they said, how do you do that?
Yes.
And I told them,
You just connect with people.
I just have big eyes and a nice smile, and I meet people and I connect.
Yes.
And I said, the next time you go to the airport, look around.
Yes.
I promise you'll recognize someone. And my COO came back. He said, Alan, it works. You're absolutely right. And he sent me a picture of Sinbad.
Oh, nice.
Not an A-list celebrity
Yes.
anymore, but it
Yes.
was pretty funny.
Yes.
So in the transition between, this is where our business gets pretty interesting today. After the crash, and I worked my way out of the property in
Correct.
Tennessee,
Correct.
I was approached, as I shared with you, to be a senior executive at an independent broker-dealer.
Correct.
And I don't have any experience in the advice business, in the financial advice business.
Right.
So I had to learn that business.
Right.
So I learned it operationally. I was in charge of all the revenue
Okay.
of the firm.
Yes.
So under that umbrella, my
Yes.
portfolio included due diligence of financial products, recruiting of financial advisors, becoming the program or product expert, practice management to teach the financial advisors how to grow their business, you know, how to keep the business they have and grow it. Now remember, the broker-dealer business is highly regulated by FINRA, the SEC.
Correct.
And I have to make businesses simpler in order to be able to understand them, in order to be able to communicate them. So I broke it down, and the business plan I wrote was all about the financial advisors being able to run their office more efficiently and to grow their businesses to attract new clients more profitably. That's how simple I was able to break
Those are
down.
what I call the critical success drivers, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we have to execute on that. So again, not knowing anything about the advice business, I interviewed all of the financial advisors and I asked them to pitch me
Yes.
as a potential client.
Yes.
The challenge was they were terrible.
They suck. I could imagine.
They were terrible.
Yes.
I was so disappointed. I thought there was more science. I thought there was more. Unfortunately, many of them were just peddlers of other people's financial products.
Right.
And the term financial advisor, wealth manager, stockbroker, you know, they didn't really fit. So I had to understand their business in order to help it. But I knew that nobody would believe me since I don't have the experience. But I knew the answer to the problem before I started. But I'll say this again. I knew the answer from my own personal experience, the key to their growth, but I also recognized they wouldn't believe me. So I set out and created some qualitative and quantitative research in order to prove my thesis. Now, the truth is I knew the answer before the research.
Got it.
So very informally, I interviewed 200 financial advisors.
Yes. Wow.
I interviewed approximately 1,000 retail accredited investors, which is what everybody is trying to attract on the advice side.
Right.
Scores of attorneys, CPAs, bankers, professionals, and I asked them all the same question. Now remember, since I'm in charge of the platform, of the investment program platform,
Right.
all of the programs were targeting returns. We target 6%, 8%, 12%. And the advisors themselves were selling. How much did your advisor make last year? I made 6% last year. Unfortunately, they were more sellers of returns, of investment products and returns, than they were in true financial planning mode. So since all businesses operate the same, control your cost, increase your revenue, I applied that metric to a financial plan. And since there were so many strategies and products targeting revenue,
Yes.
I concentrated on the cost side. And as I said, I knew the answer, but I knew no one would believe me. So interviewing 200 financial advisors, 1,000 accredited investors, scores of professionals, I asked them all the same question with the proper corresponding follow-up. What is your single biggest or most significant personal expense? And the number one answer was mortgage, primary residence.
Boom.
The number two answer was children. And the qualifier was either private school or college.
Got it.
The number three answer was interesting. I didn't see this coming. It was healthcare.
Oh, okay.
And from a common sense perspective, you would think it meant premium, but it wasn't. It was identified as a family that has a special needs child.
Got it.
That's not covered by insurance.
Got it.
That's not reimbursed, or an aging parent that they support that's not covered. And fourth is retirement.
Okay.
And we all know we never do enough with regard to our retirements
100%.
because we're going to live forever and we have plenty of time.
Yes.
The rest of the list is strictly lifestyle on this research. From 5 to the rest of the list was, I'm a golfer, I want to play the tournament courses.
I like to fish, right?
I'm a fly fisherman, I want
Yeah.
to tame the famous rivers.
Yeah,
It didn't matter what your collectible
Right.
was, your travel, it was all
Lifestyle.
a lifestyle issue.
Got it.
Now, you're nodding your head. The research makes sense, right?
Yeah.
When I present the research, everybody nods their head. They agree with it. The challenge is the research is believable, it's credible, it's scalable, it's defendable. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. At the time that I did this, I was paying 39.6% federal income tax, 6% state income tax, 3.8% Obamacare, 1.4% Social Security, all in.
Yes.
I was paying approximately 48%, 47, 48%.
Yes.
If you lived in California where your state income tax could be 12 or 13%,
Right.
you were just shy of 60%.
Right.
In the Northeast, 52, 55%.
Right.
Only in the non-state tax states,
Right.
you were averaging around 40, in the 40s, in the low 40s.
Yeah.
So let's just, for common sense purposes
Yes.
and easy math, approximately 50%
Of the money.
of your money you earn goes out in taxes.
Correct.
And yet nobody identified it.
Correct.
So which tells me as a marketer that they don't believe or feel they could do anything about it. So then I asked, what do you do for tax planning? And the number one response, I mean almost 100%, was I have a CPA.
Yes.
So what happened was the investor, the client,
Yes.
confuses tax preparation with tax planning.
Flex point, yeah.
And to make matters worse, the financial advisor wasn't participating.
Of course.
So then I looked at who were the top financial advisors in the country.
Yes.